Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Sun and Moon Movesets video. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite new 7th Gen Pokemon, Salazzle. So let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Salazzle is a Poison Fire type Pokemon, the first of its kind, and a typing in and of itself possesses some interesting 4 times resistances as well as a glaring 4 times weakness to ground type moves. But for its abilities, the first one that this Pokemon gets is its signature ability in Corrosion, which allows this Pokemon to poison Steel and Poison type Pokemon, which normally would be immune to the poison status. Now, it does not, however, allow you to hit Steel types with Poison type attacks, such as something like Sludge Bomb or whatnot, but you still can poison them with Toxic. But the cool little other thing about this is that you can actually poison Poison type Pokemon as a result of a secondary effect of a move like Sludge Bomb, which has a 30% chance to poison them. But its second ability is its hidden ability and known as Oblivious, which allows this Pokemon to never be infatuated by the move Attract or be taunted. As for its stats though, this Pokemon has base 68 HP and 60 defense along with 60 special defense, making this Pokemon fairly frail in the defensive department. However, if you take a look at its attack stats, you can see that this Pokemon is pretty much designed to be a powerful special attacker with a base 111 special attack. Its physical attack, however, is only base 64, so you're not going to be making too much use of that. But the other really great thing about this Pokemon as an offensive attacker is its speed stat being base 117, which is one of the highest speed stats of Pokemon introduced into the 7th generation. But with that, let's take a look at the first moveset that I have for you in this video. So for this first moveset, we're going to begin by giving Salazzle a timid nature to boost its speed but lower its physical attack, or a modest nature to boost its special attack but lower its physical attack, and then going with the corrosion ability. As to the EVs, we're going to put 252 into its special attack to max that out, along with 252 EVs into its speed to max that out as well, and putting the remainder 4 EVs into its special defense. And for the item on the set, going with one of these many options, the first of which being a Choice Scarf to boost your speed, a Choice Specs to boost your special attacking damage, a Life Orb to also boost your damage, but allow you to use your moves more freely at the cost of losing 10% of your health every time you damage your opponent, an Expert Belt to boost the damage of your super effective moves, Black Sludge to allow you to recover HP at the end of every turn, an Air Balloon as a way to allow this Pokemon to float above the battlefield, basically getting rid of its 4 times weakness to ground type moves until the balloon pops, or a Focus Sash to allow this Pokemon to actually take a hit and deal some damage in the process if there's something that's going to outspeed it, which could be very useful if you're able to keep hazards off the field. As to the moves, the first one that we're going to go with is going to be Fire Blast to be our main stab fire type move, and then the second option, our main stab poison move in the form of either Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave. Now it's important to know the differences between these two moves because they both have kind of interesting uses in the metagame. Sludge Bomb being a move that is a little bit weaker but has a 30% chance to poison your opponent, but is simultaneously blocked by the Bulletproof ability, whereas Sludge Wave isn't blocked by Bulletproof, a little bit more powerful, but only has a 10% chance to poison your opponent. So either of these options is viable, it really depends on what you think you're going to be up against. But for your third option, we're going to run Hidden Power Ground for some really great type coverage, because this Pokemon does struggle a bit versus Heatran, so Hidden Power Ground is a very good way to hit that for some super effective damage. Or we can also run Dragon Pulse in this slot as well, because that's the other coverage special attack move this Pokemon has access to. Or if we're going to just go with Hidden Power Ground, run Dragon Pulse in your 4th move slot to just give you 4 strong attacking moves, or run Toxic as your last move on this set as a way to Toxic pretty much anything that's going to switch in on this Pokemon to try and take a hit, and thus make it easier to wear down over time, thus allowing Salazzle an easier time to sweep at the end of the game. It's also important to note that Toxic on a choice set is still viable and very cool, because it allows this Pokemon to again status things and then come in later to damage them really hard with a powerful special attack. As to this next moveset, we're still going to be using Salazzle as a powerful special attacker, but give it a little bit more utility outside of just damaging its opponents with its powerful special moves. But for this moveset, we're still going to be running the same timid nature, ability, and EV spread as the previous moveset, but changing up the items a little bit to either include a Life Orb or Expert Belt for some more damage, or Black Sludge as a way to recover some HP at the end of every turn. For the moves though on this set, again we're going to be going with Fire Blast and Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave as your main stab, fire, and poison moves, but we're 100% going to run Toxic on this moveset as a way to status our opponents and wear them down over time. For the last move though, there are quite a few options we can go with to augment this Pokemon's ability on the battlefield of damaging things and or preventing them from lasting for a long time because of the way that Toxic works. So we're either going to run Taunt here as a way to prevent your opponent from using any non-attacking moves, which can be very useful if your opponent is trying to get rid of a Toxic status they have been inflicted with. We could also run Encore on this set as a way to lock your opponent into a move that is not ideal to be using versus this Pokemon, such as a status move that isn't going to be doing a lot of damage, or just an attack that this Pokemon is able to resist. We could also run Knockoff on this set as a way to potentially get rid of an item that your opponent is holding, which can be very useful for Toxic, because if you are able to knock off leftovers or Black Sludge on your opponent, the Toxic damage will rack up even faster on them because they won't be canceling some of that out with their HP recovery at the end of every turn. But we can also theoretically run Protect on this set as well, not only as a way to scout moves that your opponent is going to go for, but also allow this Pokemon a way to deal more Toxic damage over time, because you're basically getting a free turn of damage from that. All of these options have some really cool viability and allow this Pokemon to do different things, but it's important to note which you need for your team to allow this Pokemon to function in its most effective way. As to this next moveset, we're going to be running Salazzle as a boosting special attacker. So we're going to start this one off by giving it again a timid nature to boost its speed but lower its physical attack, using the corrosion ability, and then using an EV spread like before of 252 special attack EVs, 4 special defense EVs, and 252 speed EVs. For the item, again, we're going to run Life Orb to boost our damage, or Black Sludge to allow us to recover HP at the end of every turn, but I'm also going to include a Salackberry on the set to potentially allow this Pokemon to not only boost its special attack through the use of its first move in Nasty Plot, but also boost its speed. And with our Nasty Plot, which is going to be boosting our special attack by 2 stages, we're again going to be going with our 2 main stab moves in Fire Blast for a stab fire attack, and Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave as a stab poison type move. For your 4th move slot though, there are again quite a few options. Hidden Power Ground again is a really good useful move for this Pokemon to have to allow it to break through something like Heatran, which would be resisting both of its attacks, but Dragon Pulse could also be a really good move as well for some more neutral coverage, and you also don't really have to worry so much about fairy types with this because of the fact that you pack Sludge Bomb, which is super effective against them, or Sludge Wave. You could also theoretically run Toxic on this set as well, because you may not always have the opportunity to Nasty Plot up and sweep through your opponent's team, so Toxic can be a great way to damage your opponent through status infliction over time while you attempt to look for a really good opportunity to then Nasty Plot up and sweep your opponent's team. But you could also run Substitute on this set as well to shield you from attacks and statuses while you set up with Nasty Plot, and also potentially get you down into an HP range that'll activate your Salackberry, boosting your speed and making you an incredibly powerful and fast special attacker. As for this last moveset, it's going to be designed to make Salazzle as frustrating as possible to deal with while also simultaneously maximizing the use of the corrosion ability. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a timid nature to boost its speed but lower its physical attack, going with the corrosion ability as mentioned, and then running an EV spread of 248 HP EVs, 8 defense EVs, and 252 speed EVs. And the reason for this investment is because we're trying to make Salazzle as fast as possible while also trying to give it some bulk, which we're doing through the HP EVs, because we're not actually using any special attacks on the set. All the damage that we're getting is a result of passive toxic damage. But for the item on this moveset, we're going to be running Black Sludge to allow this Pokemon to recover HP at the end of every turn. For the moves though, as mentioned before, this set only relies on passive damage through Toxic to damage its opponents, and it's pretty much designed around the same type of moveset that a Torment Heatran would use back in 4th gen, a set that has unfortunately fallen out of popularity of recent. But the way that this set basically works is it's based around how Torment functions on your opponent. For those that don't know what this move does, because it's very rarely seen, it basically forces your opponent to not be allowed to use the same move twice in a row. And this is particularly interesting for Salazzle because it has such an interesting number of resistances. So once you've tormented them, theoretically they cannot use the attack that would be able to easily damage Salazzle, and will be forced to either switch out or use a non-damaging move or a move that's going to be weaker against this Pokemon, which will eventually allow you to get up a free substitute versus that next attack move that isn't the one that they're going to be wanting to use. Once you have your free sub up, then you can go for Protect now on the attacking move that they're going to go for to damage your sub, but because they are tormented, they cannot again use that attack on the following turn, which is going to essentially allow you to freely toxic whatever you are up against. Then you basically just rinse and repeat this process over and over again of subbing and protecting and tormenting whatever comes in over and over again to wear down everything on your opponent's team. Now, there are a couple of Pokemon that are more difficult to deal with this moveset, obviously, namely things that have the Magic Guard ability that aren't damaged by poison, or things that could also potentially taunt you as well because of the fact that we're not running any attacking moves on the set. So if you don't want to run with Protect, Taunt is another viable option to use here as a way to prevent your opponent from simultaneously taunting you, but also allow it so that your opponent, if they're packing a recovery move or a move that would rid them of their status, to not be able to do that. And that is particularly useful because this essentially allows this Pokemon to beat stuff like Chansey by taunting them on their, soft-boiled or aromatherapy or heal bell, thus allowing them to have to keep the toxic status and then be forced to switch out once their HP starts going down because they can't keep going for Seismic Toss because of the torment that you have on them. So it's a very cool combination of moves that this Pokemon can definitely abuse and is one of the more interesting things that Salazzle is capable of doing that make it one of my favorite Pokemon introduced into this generation. But with that, everybody, that is it for this video. So as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.